Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Check check. What's going on, everybody? So, I bet y'all haven't heard about this story of Brittany Zamora, the 27-year-old school teacher from Arizona who was busted for having sex with a 13-year-old boy. I bet y'all haven't heard about that because we're too busy focusing in on Michael Cohen and R. Kelly, especially the R. Kelly thing this week. We've all seen the snippets of the interview that he gave to Gayle King on CBS News this morning and all that stuff. There's no really need for me to go into all that right now. But what I want to talk about is how nobody knows who Brittany Zamora is and what she's been alleged to have done. 27-year-old school teacher having sex with a 13-year-old boy, and you haven't heard anything about it. I didn't know about it until I read it online on one of the what they used to call junk paper websites based in the UK. I don't want to call out any names because I don't want to be acting like I'm endorsing them or anything like that. But I did read about it last week, and once again we got yet another case of a young, attractive, and in many cases married school teacher getting dug out by some young teenage boy. We just keep on seeing these stories crop up and pop up, but I don't know, maybe they're so common now that the media doesn't want to deal with it in this country. We'd rather talk about R. Kelly, and the thing is, why is that? Why are we leaving these stories under the radar when the allegations are just as salacious and problematic as the ones involving R. Kelly? And not just R. Kelly, but the Catholic priests and some of these male school teachers who are getting involved with these young teenage girls. Like the one that ran off with the young lady a couple of years ago. That thing ran on the morning news for weeks and weeks until they finally caught up with them. Now, you see, obviously, I'm getting at something here. When it's a man involved, the news takes the issue and run with it. But when it comes to these female school teachers dealing with these young, just barely into the early stages of their puberty, boys, these women are taking advantage of these kids, and the media just wants to sweep that stuff under the radar. At least the mainstream media. So I just wanted to see if anybody noticed. Did anybody notice? So if you're not aware of it, Google Brittany Zamora, look her up. A young 27-year-old thing, married, not bad looking at all. I don't know, whatever she ain't getting something at home, and she decided to go get it with a 13-year-old, and it's just really. I mean, if I was her husband, I would be super humiliated to know that your wife is dipping and tipping with a kid that spends most of his time hanging out at the mall or playing video games. That's got to be devastating for a dude. But no doubt the guy is a beta male cuck. I've seen him, and judging by some of the things he said, he wanted to protect his wife. He's standing in support of his wife, and he knows she's guilty of this thing, and he's still trying to save face and support this woman. Not only that, but he also tried to get the young man's father. He tried to persuade the young man's father to not go to the police with this story. So he knows his wife is guilty of screwing around with a 13-year-old, and instead of doing the honorable thing as a man and holding her accountable, what does he do? He wants to protect her and push it on and shake it under the rug instead of dealing with it with a dignified, honorable way to deal with it. But that's the days we live in. All these beta male cucks, and I don't know why every time these teachers get caught up in a situation like this, if they're married, it's always to some beta male cuck. So you could tell they ain't getting, there's something at home that they're not getting, and they're choosing to get it from these young kids, you know. But I'm not gonna go into it too deeply. It's just that I just want to point out that while we were all looking at R. Kelly huffing and puffing and crying and getting all emotional in front of Gail, this story went under the radar. And the thing about it is, this story is, in my estimation, no less significant. You know, if we want to talk about celebrities and movie stars and singers who are dilly-dallying with underage kids, okay, we can do that. But let's talk about these school teachers that's doing the same thing. You know, and this thing has reached an epidemic in this country, because every time you turn around, there's news about some kid that's been spoiled by a female teacher. Now, we still hear about it. We just don't get the same scrutiny that you would get if it was something involving a celebrity or the Catholic Church or something like that. But come on, man, they had to quit playing. We need to talk about this, because, you know, even though it's a young boy and getting turned out by these women, and I know there's a double standard there, and some people don't seem to mind if a young boy gets turned out at a early age. Yet and still, you know, there are some damaging effects that could linger for the rest of this kid's life. You know, I personally have known a lot of men who had their first sexual contact with an older girl, with an older woman. You know, I've known some guys who were 12, 13. They were turned out by a girl who was 18, 19, or in some cases over 20. And the effects of that linger with them to this day. You know, but we're not talking about that. I mean, and you know, it kind of reminds me of that scene, that issue that was dealt with in that movie Antoine Fisher. You know, we saw how that situation between him and that older girl who was abusing him, we saw how that affected him. But that stuff is not dealt with. But unless it's a Catholic priest or a male teacher or some other male authority figure, then they want to get into it. See? Or if it's a male authority figure taking advantage of a younger girl, then the national conversation, the national discussion swoops in on that. It just, I guess it just makes for better TV or whatever. But yeah, the double standard is going to have to change, because this thing, I mean, it's just literally a matter of time before the next case of a school teacher screwing around with a young boy comes to light. And it's going to be interesting to see, where are we going to find it out? Are we going to find out about it from the mainstream media, the Foxes and the ABCs and the CBSs and the NBCs of the world? Or are we going to have to go online and go into one of the other tabloid-based news outlets from overseas to find out this stuff? Because they seem more committed to telling the truth about it than we are. That's for sure. So, yeah. So, all right. I just wanted to make a quick drop dealing with that. And that's it for now. All right, y'all be cool.